Yeah. Okay, cool. We're recording. Okay, sweet. So in this video, we're going to go over how to download Anaconda, which is the program that runs Jupyter Labs and Jupyter Notebook. And that's what we're going to be doing our code in to extract the census data, to query the API, to ultimately get shapefiles with information, census information, and connect that to a geography. So I'm gonna share my screen now. Oh my God, I have so many tabs. Okay, fantastic. Okay, here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go to anaconda.com. And then we're going to go down into products and individual edition. We won't have to pay for anything, which is fantastic. It's an open source distribution, so should be free. I think that right now I've done this on a PC, and Grace, you were saying that you had difficulties with a Mac. So we will look into that and see what the process is, but you want this Anaconda program. And so you download it and then follow the steps to do that. I've already gone through and done it because it takes a little while. But when you, let's see, how do I switch my screen? Oh, I can just go. So when you get it to work, then here we go. Oh, no, stop share. And let's see. It should look like this, Anaconda Navigator. And within Anaconda Navigator, you'll see here Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks. They are similar. I'm pretty sure the exact same, actually. This one's just web-based, and this one's the Jupyter Lab is a bit easier to use, I believe. So we're going to be working with Jupyter Lab. But first off, we need to download or we need to import some environments. And the environment that we need for this specific example is called GeoPandas. So it's an extension of Pandas. I'm not sure the technicality or the technical definition of it, but basically we need it to work. And Anaconda doesn't have the GeoPandas environment to start out, so we need to import that. So to do that, you're going to go into your home screen and type in Anaconda prompt. And this is going to pop up a code block right here. Can you see that, Grace?
No,
black screen?
No.
You can't? Okay, hold on. Let me, okay, here we go. Okay, now can you see it? Anaconda prompt. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So this is what's gonna pop up when you type in Anaconda prompt. And we're gonna import GeoPandas. Now there's a specific way that you can do this, and this is gonna be the way. So within you've got your base and you've got your users and your name. And you're gonna type in conda create -n GeoPandas is gonna be the folder of the environment that you're creating. So it's like you're naming it GeoPandas. And then you're creating a Conda Forge GeoPandas environment. So when you do that, when you run, let's see, there's already a environment that exists because I've already made it. So I'm going to name it something else. And let's see, I'm going to name it GeoPandas 1. And then -c conda forge GeoPandas. Cool. Okay, sweet. So now it's going to run through this process. It may take a couple of minutes to do, but it'll work. So then after it goes through the environment, it solves it, and it's going to add the specs of GeoPandas. That's what we want. And then the following new packages will be installed. I don't know what any of this means, but we want to proceed. So I click Y and then enter. And it's going to go through now for each of these and go to 100%. So yeah, let's see. This is what it should look like. It'll have a whole bunch of lines and then a bunch of pound signs. And that means that it's executing, and that's important. Yeah, at the very end of it, I need to wait because there's one kind of important step that okay, here we go, perfect. This step is crucial. So right now we've downloaded the GeoPandas, but we haven't activated it. So to do that, we're going to type in this conda activate GeoPandas. Now, some people wanted, and myself included, wanted to type in the $. Don't do that. Don't do the $. Just do conda activate GeoPandas 1 or GeoPandas, whatever you name it. And then we're going to enter it. And there we go. Now it's activated. And you can see that it's activated because the name, oh boy, the name here is GeoPandas. Cool. So I'm going to go back to Anaconda. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we can also see this that it's activated because when we go into, this is the home page of Anaconda Navigator. When we go into the environments, we'll go to GeoPandas and we'll see that all of the extensions are there and they're activated. The green checked. They're green checked. So cool. So now we are able to go into our code block and do that. So I'm going to launch Jupyter Labs and then switch over the screen sharing. Jupyter Lab. Okay, awesome. I think that's it. Okay, sweet. Can you see the Jupyter Lab?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm going to save this. So when you open it up, it should look like this. We won't have any Jupyter notebooks ready. One thing just for general purposes, you can right click on this folder area here. This is like your home folder. You can right click and create a new folder or a new file. So to do this, we're going to create a new folder and you're going to call it Census. I already have one named Census up here. So I'm going to call this Census 1. When we open it up, there's nothing there. So you can do one of two things. You can either start a new file or we can download in the Jupyter notebook that Viet has prepared for us, which I think is a good idea to do just because it's already pre-made for you, so it's less work. So to do that, this is the upload button. So we're going to upload this, and this is where you'll probably go to your downloads. I have already downloaded it, and we'll provide that in like a list of like links and stuff like that. We'll put it somewhere wherever we share this video. But either way, the file that you want is this IPYNB. That means that it's a Jupyter notebook file, and that's what we want to open up. So when we open that, we double click on it, and now we've got our Jupyter notebook in our Jupyter Lab. So now this is where, we've got the base code, but we don't really understand what any of this means. So this is where I'm going to go through and explain a little bit how we get our data. And if somebody wants to replicate it, but switch it up a little bit, this is what you're going to do. So I'm going to stop sharing and go to the drive. Okay, cool. So to find all of this data, you're going to type into Google Census API, And the first one that pops up is available APIs. So you're going to click on that, and it's the official Census Bureau website. And this has a list of all of the APIs that we can use to collect our data from. And so we're going to scroll down. The one that I think that we're going to use is going to be the Decennial Census 2010, because although there is the 2020 Decennial Census, it's taking them a while to update and make sure the data is correct. So for now, we're just going to use the 2010 census because that seems to be the best indicator. So when we type on, or when we click on it, pops up new link, and says this is the following API data sets for the decennial census. So we want to work with the 2010, and these are all of the links that are important for us. So the three things that we want is or the two things that we want is this link right here. It's got the 2010 SF1 examples and supported geography. When we click on that, it pops up with this pop-up, and this allows us to go to the geographies list and variable list. These are the two things that we want. We can also find that, here's the variables list, and you can type that in here. And this will pop up with the exact same thing that they're the same link, basically. So it doesn't matter what you do for that. That's how you get the variables, and I'll explain why that's important in a little bit. This is also the geographies. It's got different geography levels. So yeah, to get the census shape files that don't have any of the data attached to them, they're simply just the geographic shape files. We're going to go to this link right here that will be provided. Grace, you're already familiar with it, but for the people that don't know it, we're going to go to the tabular block for the 2010 census. And this doesn't make a ton of sense. And that's where we're going to reference the geography levels here. So when we look, we'll see that the state of California is the tab block 06. So you'll see that this is the 2010 census. Wait, this is 2020. 2010. Hold on. Okay, well, this is the 2010 census. So yeah, you'll see here that it's the shape files, and this 02 indicates which state it is. So California, we know from the geographies list that it's 06. So we're going to scroll down, and we're going to download the 06 zip file. Now, I don't want to do that because it's going to take a really long time, and I've already done that process, but that's what you're going to do to get those shape files. And now what we're going to do is we've got the basic shape files just with the geographies and the polygons. Now we want to add in the data that we want to collect. And that's going to be the variables of the 2010 census. So this is what we're going to connect to those geographies to get the symbology or just like the layout that we want. And so that's what we're going to tie. This GeoID is the geographies that we just downloaded from the Tiger shapefiles. Each of the shapefile polygons have a GeoID that we're going to connect to, so kind of like a join. Not like a join, it is a join. We're going to be joining the variables to the GeoIDs. So here we go. Now, these are all of the variables that are inputted in the 2010 decennial census. And the variable list, or the variable name, excuse me, is this top left, or this left column. And this is what we're going to use to indicate in the code which variables we want to use. So let's look and see what he did. Okay, cool. We'll just do the first one, total housing units. This is what we're going to right click and copy. And now we're going to go back into our code and where is it? Here we go. Oh, no. Hold on. Screen one. Okay, sure. Okay, can you see the code block in Jupyter Lab?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, sweet. So now what we're gonna do is in this response line right here, we're going to request and we're going to get the data. Now, Viet has already gone through and gotten the line for us. All we need to do is change out the variables or input new variables. So after this get equals, this is where we're going to put our variables in. He's already gone through and gotten the total housing units, but let's say I wanted to do another data set as well, because we want to try to lump all of the data in together and make it a little bit easier for us. I'm going to do a comma and then Control V or paste, and I'm going to paste in the new variable. So this could be whatever I want it to be, but it has to match a variable that's in the list that I showed you before. And then at the end, you want to make sure that there's this sign, this and sign. Cool. And then if we're looking at the tracked blocks in the census, and so for this, it says for block, in state, in county, in tract. So that just basically is setting the geographic level, because there's different geographic levels where it goes state, county, tract, and then block. And block is the smallest and most accurate census level that we can get. So that's what we're going to do.
If you wanted to specify like one county in California, would you put like the number of the county there instead of just?
I believe so. I haven't played around with that, and we can do that. But yeah, I know that this is for all of California. So I'm assuming that yeah, you would change out in, you know, X county. And I think that in the geography levels link that I'll attach, it has those, it has the codes that you would input there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you would do. Cool. So now we've got our variable. Oh, I'm going to go back. Okay, so this is what we're importing. These are all the environments. You'll see the GeoPandas is right here. That was what we were doing before. To get the census shapefile, we're going to upload the zip folder that we got before. So I'm going to go through and find that right now. Let me get that. Okay, cool. So it's important that you go through and upload 2006 tab block 10. Okay, cool. It's important that you upload all of the, yeah. It's important that you upload all of the files in that zip folder. Even though we're only going to be using the shapefile, I tried to just upload the shapefile and it came out as an error message. So we're going to upload all of the zip folders into this census folder, but we're only going to be referencing the shapefile itself. So to do this, what we want is we just want the TL 2020-06 tab block 10.shp file, because we know that we're referencing, because the census file is in the census folder, we don't need any other indicators. What Viet did before was he had different folders that he put his data into. And so that's where he's referencing this data census. That's where he got his from. But because we're inputting our data in the same folder as the Jupyter Notebook folder file, we only need this. So now we're going to name this shape file the census block shape, and that's what we're going to be referring to our geometries as. So now we've got this, we can run it. And now we're on our second one. We just went over the variables. And for now, I'm only going to be doing the total housing units, which is this variable right here. This line right here basically reformats it into a CSV format. So when we look at the data, there's going to be a bunch of brackets around it and extra spaces, and we don't want that. And so that's what this line is doing right here. It's just getting it into a format where we can read it and run the file. So these two right here, or this one right here, is just reading it into a CSV file, which we'll be using to join to our geometries later back into the shapefile. This is concentrating the geography IDs to make the geo ID 10, which we'll use to join with the shapefile. I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that it works. So, yeah. And then we're going to be converting the type of population variable into an integer and also renaming it to population. So just makes it a little bit easier. Like Fricker says, simplifying code is always helpful, so that way you don't get confused, because this is confusing when you look at it the first time. So now we're only going to be keeping the GeoID and the population. Oh, okay, here. This line right here is basically stating that this is the total housing units population. If we wanted to do, or if we add in another variable up here in this first line, then we're going to go down and do this whole process again, where let's say we were doing race. We would do this, you know, H002001 or whatever the variable is up here. So let's see. Does that make sense? Like when you have multiple variables up in this first line, then you need to have multiple lines down here. We're just converting both of these types into integers.
Would you need to change pop_df?
No, you don't have to do that, because that's what we're, it's like the data frame, the population data frame that we'll be connecting the GeoID. The important thing is that you change out this string to have the same variable combination as up here, and then rename it something unique. So you don't want to have like pop and pop. That's going to be really bad. So you want to do race or whatever the other variable is, and then having that be the same as the variable that you copied in. So anyway, so I'm only doing one right now. So I'm going to delete this and delete this. I'm going to remove the comma because I don't need that. Oh, this is also then where, let's say you had your race variable, you're going to add that in here. So, yeah, because we're only doing one, this is what the code will look like. And then this just deletes the content just to free up memory, because when you run the code, it'll use up your RAM. And if you don't delete it, then it'll really slow the process down in the future. So I'm going to run this. It'll take a little bit. So I'll go on and explain the next part. So this is the shapefile data frame. And that's what we're going to be reading. That's what we're going to be getting from this census block shape from the first line of code. And so now we're just going to be organizing this so that way then we can pair it up with the population data frame earlier. Yeah, and so we only want to keep the GeoID 10 and the geometry, because when we download the census block shapefiles, there is a column in it that's called geometry, and that's what we're going to be pairing it up to. And so you'll see that then this GeoID 10 is the same for both the population data frame and shapefile data frame, and that's what we're going to be joining or merging. We're also going to be dropping duplicates, so because sometimes there's duplicate GeoIDs. So now we're going to run this one. And then now this last line is just joining the two data frames based on the GeoID 10, and then going to a file, having this data frame to file. So yeah, you can name this whatever you want to, but make sure that the .shp is at the end. So I'm going to run those, and it'll take a minute or two, but that is the process. Do you have any questions for me? I'll do my best to answer it, but yeah.
No, I think I'm good because I watched Viet's video too, so it's all just kind of
okay.
together.
Cool. Yeah, he does a better job of explaining the technical aspects of it, so I think that we'll probably post both. You can see me being very confused in it, so hopefully I'm doing a better job. I understand it a little bit better now, which is good. So
I also would just recommend for everyone to like look into census data, because like I've worked with it before, so I understand like what you're talking about, but if I hadn't worked with it before, I'd probably be confused.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and honestly, like going through the census API's data really helps understand it. They've got a couple of data tutorials as well, some articles, and they explain that as well. It's definitely pretty difficult and confusing. So yeah, like Grace said, familiarizing yourself with it, because it's really, it's difficult. So, which is why we're making the video. So you'll see now that we're running this, that all of these files are appearing in the census folder. So the biggest one that we need is just waiting for the sixth, 5. Just waiting for the sixth one to finish up. And so then this is what we're going to be downloading and inputting into ArcPro. So I might as well open it right now, get that started. Perfect. Cool. And because it's such a big data set, that's why it takes a while. I think that if you just did it by county, or a specific region, like California as a whole is pretty large. So yeah, okay, cool. So now we know that this ran successfully. If it didn't, you would get an error message, and then you would copy that error message into Google and try to work around it. But luckily for us, it worked. So now I'm going to go through and download all of the files. And when I open it up in hold on. Hang on a sec. Okay, cool. So when I go to, can you see a folder right here?
Yeah.
Of my downloads?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. So now we see we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files in our downloads. So they've downloaded successfully. So now I'm just going to put them into a folder, make it a little bit easier to digest. I'll name it block 2010 score 1, because I'm pretty sure I already named it block 2010 earlier in my run through myself. Cool. And then now I'm going to move this to the desktop, and then from the desktop into GIS, and it's just making this a little bit easier for me. Okay, awesome. Do you see ArcPro's homepage, Grace?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is ArcGIS Pro. A lot of people should be familiar with it. I'm just going to open up a new map just to show the process. This should be pretty simple now. So I'm going to add a folder connection to the computer, to desktop, and to GIS, GIS folder. And here we go. Here's that block 2010 folder. And within it is my shapefile. So I'm going to drag that into the contents. And here it appears. And so in the attribute table, you'll see this GeoID and then a population. And I believe this population is in thousands or total households or something like that. So definitely need to look through the data a little bit, but we can go to symbology and go by the population field. And there we go. There's our total households highlighted. And this makes sense because the Bay Area and LA, you can see are darker shades of red, which indicates that there's more households. So yeah, that's the process. There we go. Sweet. Any other final questions? I think that's kind of.
I think that we should
right now.
That like these aren't county lines, they're track lines, and they're different.
Yes.
That's why there's so.
Yeah. So the census organizes their own data into census tracts to make it easier for people going out into the census field and collecting that data. So like when over the summer, I had a particular tract that I was in charge of. And so it's just an easier way to organize the enumerators, which are the people that go out and collect the data. So yeah, so you could do it by county or by state. That would obviously be a little bit easier, but this is a bit more fine-tuned and more detailed. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and stop the recording now.